I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Countess Lita joins us. Hello.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm doing great. Please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Countess Lita. I am an ancient internet vampire, a bimbo, and a scholar. I do streams 2 to 4 times a week, doing a variety of things, including retro gaming challenges, unboxing, cooking, lots of chatting and yapping, and in RPGs and puzzle games.
Yeah,
to name a few things.
Yeah, folks, you got to check out what the Countess has going on, because there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of fun to listen in on. I've lurked in a couple of the streams. You need to
Thank you.
Need to check it out, and we'll have the links in the description for the video. So an ancient internet vampire.
Yeah, I'm also a spider queen and spider enjoyer, spider lover. So I have a spider theme on my channel, and spider parts on my VTuber avatar that you can activate.
I got to keep my wife from watching because she
one of the reasons I went with the spider theme isn't just because I like them, but also because I know they're a little polarizing.
Yes.
And I feel like making a bold choice is better than making no choice.
There you go. It's all in for the spiders.
Yeah. My viewers are asking if I'm going to ever add an arachnophobia mode to the stream, so that maybe someday.
Yeah, there's games now that have added that to their...
Oh, it's very, very common, and it always weirds me out. I'm like, why does this particular phobia get so much special treatment compared to, there's just many people are afraid of snakes or
I think
insects, and they don't get deleted from games the same way.
I think it's because they run across spiders so often, and
I think it's almost like a meme at this point.
Yeah.
That they just do it for the laughs, because it's like very funny, like in Lethal Company, just the word spider coming around the corner at you.
Yes. No! Run as fast as possible.
It's scarier than seeing a spider, in my opinion.
Yeah, in my...
But then again, I like them, so I don't. But the word is hilarious. It comes around, it's like, oh god.
Well, to me, I go out on the porch and I see a spider. I'm like, yeah, keep it up, man.
Yeah, they do a valuable service.
Yeah.
They keep the bugs.
Grab those.
It's like having a cat. Then you don't get mice and vermin in your house. Well, if you have, the right amount of spiders in your garden, it keeps the worst things away.
Yes, but the spiders are a little more reliable than the cats.
Depends on the cat. I don't have a cat right now. I used to have a cat. She was a real good mouser.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get a good one that's very reliable, but sometimes you don't. The spiders are reliable friends.
Yeah, we have 9 of them, and they might bring us a mouse, but it's usually alive, and then they chase it away.
That's a toy.
Yeah. Then they look at us like, aren't you proud? No, you brought us a mouse.
Yeah, you didn't do it right. You didn't finish the job.
Yes. And then they'll go back and bring it back again. No. Chase them away. So you've been around the net for a while.
I have. The gimmick the ancient internet vampire gimmick, honestly, I was really inspired by HoloLive used to have a Vesper,
Yeah.
And he had like kind of a vampire look. And I thought, I was originally doing a different thing with my avatar because I changed my brand last year, about a year ago, actually. My debut anniversary was late October.
Cool.
It's like a Halloween area kind of debut.
Right.
And I went through a pretty lengthy process of like updating the brand and changing the avatar and stuff, because originally my VTuber was self-drawn, and I would just change it whenever I felt like changing it. If I would just do a cosplay or whatever, I would just draw over it.
Right.
But I'm the greatest illustrator in the world. I'm passable, but to hire like really quality, talented artists to, illustrate a really cool looking character was sort of a goal of mine. So kind of saved up for that and did the rebrand. But the vampire thing was really inspired by the fact that I have been on the internet for a super long time. We were just talking about the fact that I, did have AOL.
Yes.
I did have Usenet.
Yes.
Like I'm 424 years old, give or take.
Yep. Almost up where I am. It's nice to know there's some fellow folks who were around back then. I was telling Lita that my outside of this email is a Netscape account, so that kind of tells you.
That's pretty good cred. That's pretty solid cred.
That'll tell you exactly how long I've been tooling around the internet.
That's awesome. I think what happens is that I don't want to say that all of my audience is similar to my age, but I do think I do have some younger folks that are like, I can't believe the stuff that people used to go through to be on the internet. But I think I do also have some folks that stop by and are like, oh yeah, I was around during the
Yes,
AOL Netscape days.
yes. Just try to explain to them web TV.
It was really hard to watch. You couldn't really watch videos, so or there'd
No.
be like a little flash animation you had to
Yes.
click through. Yeah,
Yes, and even just loading anything took forever.
absolutely. Not this world of live streaming and always on YouTube that we have now.
Our pictures didn't move back then.
No,
We
you have to wait for it to download. Like you're tapping your fingers as you wait for like one blurry image
Oh
to
yeah,
load.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was something else. But so what got you started on VTubing in the first place?
So I started streaming many, many, many years ago. Like I did like a single charity stream one time, so I just kind of had the Twitch account.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine, we were getting together and we were doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Hmm.
And I happened to have some connections at Dungeons and Dragons
Ooh.
that kind of got me started with like modules and like getting streaming going. And we were streaming the Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So
Oh.
that was like live face to face. We actually all got around my friend's table,
Right. Yeah.
and I was, in person. I was the dungeon master. It's my
Ooh.
favorite thing to do. I do love to be dungeon master. I haven't run a campaign in a couple years because we were actually, like I said, meeting in person.
Yeah.
And then we got to a really good stopping spot in the campaign. That campaign ran for, I want to say, 3 years
Oh
on
boy.
Twitch.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
was a good long campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all told, I've been streaming for 7 years now, I think.
Ooh.
I was going to say 6, but it's been another year since then. So,
Well, that does
um,
add the ancient to folks these days. That's seven.
I know it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
sounds crazy. It sounds like a long time to be streaming. I've only been streaming on this brand for the last year.
Yeah.
So this is a new brand for me, but I was originally streaming at my friend's house. And then when COVID lockdown happened, I swapped to the VTuber format on my own account because we weren't meeting in person anymore.
Mm.
So there's like footage of my face cam streams from 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But I switched to the VTubers because I was like really interested in Hololive, and I
Mhm.
was watching, when EN dropped, I was like, oh, this seems like a really fun way to like express myself and be creative and do fun stuff and like maybe do more creative stuff when the stream than I had been doing previously,
Mhm.
and when I decided to do that, I was just trying to draw and rigging my own stuff, and I just sort of was very self-taught and worked my way through like improving my quality until I finally did the rebrand last year.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of history with me and streaming. And originally I was streaming mostly games, and I still do a lot of games.
Right.
But I've also do a little chatting, do a little hand cam stuff,
Mm.
just a pretty big variety of stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's you got a lot of stuff going on that channel, and
Hmm.
and it's become more than your average let's play type of channel. It's really grown into kind
Thank
of
you.
a cottage industry of its own.
I do a lot of weird. I say that my big thing is weird games,
Yeah.
and that's because I've always been a big fan of indie games.
Right.
So if something is strange, unusual, maybe semi-viral, maybe completely random and, out of nowhere, I'll stream like people's RPG Maker games
Mm.
and like random stuff that I know exists that I
Yeah.
find out there. Like I've got a couple that I've got on queue for tomorrow's stream that are just like random horror games.
Yeah.
Just because I really like the indie scene
Right.
and the variety of stuff that people come up with them. So
Yeah.
I've been a gamer my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since I was in diapers pretty much. Or if you want to look at it from a VTuber kayfabe perspective, I've been gaming since there's gaming to do.
Yes. And when the game was fold the paper. That was the game.
Right.
That was the first video game. Fold the paper.
Well, Nintendo used to be Playing Card Company.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. So
yeah.
you were there for the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. The expanding into other types of things kind of takes a little extra gumption to do. And has there been things that you've tried and it didn't work out the way you'd wanted?
My day job, I code.
Uh huh.
And I've often said that I would like to do coding on stream, but I don't like doing coding on stream. So I've tried it a couple times, and it's very hard for me to type and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
I keep thinking I'm going to get brave and do, a Python stream because I think people would be interested in watching me do that.
Hmm.
But it's getting over that slight nervous hurdle I have of like making mistakes in coding
Right.
on a stream where when I'm coding kind of on my own quietly, if I make a mistake, no big deal. Everybody who codes makes mistakes. There's always bugs. You know, you're always doing, it's more errors fixing than writing most of the time. But I don't like to, I don't like to type and talk at the same time. So I find that very scary. There are folks I know that do a really, really, really good job with coding streams. That's one of those things I've tried and I don't know that I love, but maybe I'll try it again someday in the future.
Mm.
Same thing with visual art. Like I said, I'm a passable illustrator, but I'm not great. And so when I go live, like with my drawing tablet, usually I get too intimidated to keep doing it for very long. Because I always think there's so much better illustrators out there in the world. Why would anybody want to watch me draw? But
well, that's always a hill, isn't it? I mean, there's
yeah.
something about doing it, and you're doing a good job, but then you have to show it to somebody else, and
Hmm. Hmm.
that's where that mountain sometimes shows up. Um,
Hmm.
I would rather talk to a million people I don't see than 10 people in one room. That type of thing. Yeah,
Sure, sure, sure.
it's there's a big difference there, and when you do that, it does take some courage to get over that, and to me that a lot of times, like, I couldn't be up on stage and do anything. I just
Oh, I've done that. I've
Yeah.
done that. I've given talks to big audiences. I don't get that. But the stage fright for me is always worse after I'm off stage when I'm done. Like not before, but after. Because then I'm wondering, like, what did people think? Did they like it? Did they think I was stupid? Did I put my foot in my mouth? Did I that's always when I get the most stage fright. It's just like when you upload a video to YouTube.
Hmm.
I didn't realize how anxious it made me to put a video live on YouTube until like I quickly slapped one out and like went to do an event like outside of the of the world, and I realized that like, oh, after putting something up I have to give myself time to like breathe through that because I get stage fright after. I don't get stage fright before.
Oh wow, that's like being outside in the cold for a long time, then getting into warmth and then start shivering. That
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
I've had that
It's like a
happen.
like delayed set in reaction. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I uploaded a video to YouTube.
yeah.
Now I'm terrified. Now I don't know what's going to happen
I can't
over
take
the
it
next
back.
24 hours.
I can't take it back now. It's out there for everybody. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, with the cooking stuff online, when did you get started with
Uh-huh.
that?
I like cooking. I've always, done a little bit here or there. My setup right now is not at all good for cooking, so I pretty much only do like gimmick cooking.
Hmm.
Like if I'm gonna do like a video game thing or something, so I want to bake the cake for mouthwashing this week. And I previously made Baja Blast pie, which turned out terribly, by the way. It was like gross and oozy, but it was very funny.
It was more blast
I
than
like to
pie.
bake. I like to bake.
Yeah.
And I like to do like gimmicky video game food.
Ah.
And a friend of mine has done a cooking show on Twitch for a super long time, and she's the one that even got me really streaming. Which their show's called Cooking with Heat.
Oh, okay.
And that's a cool channel to check out. Ellie Faces her channel.
Okay.
But she does like cooking show, and she's been doing it for many, many, many years now.
Mm.
So they actually have like a whole wired kitchen set up. They've been doing it for a long time.
Oh.
Me, I throw things together at my desk, and it's always a mess. But it's fun to do because I like the challenge of trying to recreate something from a cookbook. I have a lot of gimmick cookbooks.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's the fun part of it. That's the fun part of it.
Yeah, I have the Street Fighter cookbook. I got the Fallout cookbook. I got the Deadpool cookbook. I like to cook from the stuff.
How do you find the rad roaches for the Fallout cookbook?
Oh, well, it's all substitutions. They don't. Yeah, yeah. They let you use beef and pork and stuff.
Well, I thought, with the spider background, you'd be able to find a few of them.
Oh, yeah, I could, go ahead and weave a big web under the backyard deck and see what turns up.
Let's
But
check the
it'd
web before you.
be a lot of picking the roaches out of the web. Yeah.
Well, I can't cook it. I mean, if I did something like that, it would be basically a camera on the microwave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or the air fryer.
Or I mean, you can,
Yeah.
I mean, I could make a cake from a box mix and try to make it entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you could. I could bake a cake from box mix and set the house on fire. It's a different
Well, that's a different problem.
story. I have actually set fire to toasters on two
Oh,
days
geez.
in a row.
Hmm.
That was making toast. So
Yeah, maybe that's too much of a hazard to
it-
try and cook and stream at the same time.
oh yeah, well cooking anything. That's why when I was a bachelor for 43 years. There was a lot of reason why people made microwave foods. It was for people like me.
Mm-hmm,
Yes,
hmm.
no artistic ability, no cooking ability. That's me in a nutshell. No.
Well, those are all things that can be learned and cultivated, though. And, the thing I always have to remind myself about art, like when I feel bad about drawing, is that I don't do it often enough.
Mm,
And that's the reason I don't, the reason I haven't improved. If you do something often enough, you will improve. And the nice thing about cooking is like, you have to eat anyway.
hmm
So, learning to do it is something that you can kind of work into your daily schedule and get passable. I mean, I'm never going to get a Michelin star, but
Yeah.
and like decorating a cake is a whole other thing. I tried to use fondant once, did not work out for me. That's a whole skill set.
Yeah.
But everything can be learned.
Yeah.
Drawing, painting,
Yeah. But
gaming, everything.
what about patience? Because I don't have patience for it.
That's the tricky part. Patience and focus.
Yeah.
Focus is the thing that I struggle with the most because I constantly am switching from hobby to hobby and then like to like. And there's a few things that I'm like hyper fixated on that I'll never stop loving.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of things where I've completely forgot to work on this for the last 2 weeks, you know.
Well, does that carry on onto the streams every once in a while? That you do a variety of things?
It does because when I originally started doing my channel, I was like, I'm also going to do speedrunning.
Uh,
But speedrunning requires so much focused dedication on one game,
Yep.
which I can do to some degree. Like I love the games that I'm working on, which are Super Metroid and Mega Man X, which are two pretty like common
Oh yeah.
games to learn.
Yeah.
But I love both of those games. And like Mega Man X is a game that for years, whenever I was like, I don't know what I feel like doing, I would just pick it up and run through it real quick.
Yes.
And so I thought like, oh, well, I'll just become a speedrunner of this. But like actually getting focused to the point where I'm cutting my time down is a whole different level of discipline. And like I have largely dropped off from doing that, which I feel bad about because it's something that I definitely set as a goal for myself and wanted to do. But at the same time, there's like so many things that I want to do on the stream that it's very hard to find the time to dedicate myself to just one game over and over again.
Right.
So it's just a balancing act for me. Yeah. I mean, will I go back to those games at some point? Probably, maybe. Yeah. Next year, sometime I might go back to that, but it's definitely like, oh, but there's so many cool one-shot games that I could play. And I don't know, what
Oh
that
yeah.
says about my
Yeah.
level of discipline or focus, but it's how I feel.
Well,
I do a lot of things.
when you're doing those, can you keep chat involved in that? Or is it tough?
If speedrunning, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because there's people who are really, really, really good. Like I watch Oats and Goats run Metroid.
Mhm.
And he's played the game so many times, constantly, over and over, that banter, it's like muscle memory. He doesn't have to pay attention. But for me, I'm at that level where I'm still a beginner at it.
Yeah.
Not at the game itself. I'm good at the game itself, but I mean a beginner at speedrunning the game, which is a different category of things, right?
Right.
And I'm very novice. I don't have like a decent time yet. I'm at like a 140, which is not great. But like it's great for like a casual game. That would be really great. But for
Right.
like a speed run, that's not particularly fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to focus. So it is more difficult to focus on chat if you're playing like a very difficult or technical game. And that's true like when I play action games as well. Like I did Stellar Blade, and Stellar Blade like required a lot more focus time and like paying attention to the game itself than bantering with chat. So
Yeah. It does. It does make it hard, especially. I would imagine too, since you're doing the retro games and doing some one shot things that it does make it a little hard to keep chat involved because you're still figuring out the game as you go.
I'm really good at that. And I'm really good at keeping Yap. In fact, I had YouTube and Twitch chat going while I was playing Riven the other week, and they were like, "How could you solve puzzles in this game and manage two chats?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm wired for that kind of game. Puzzle games like that. I'm wired for that kind of game. So did it take me a little longer to beat it than it would like playing casually because I was doing chat and because I got distracted? Yeah, it did. It took me longer to beat it than I think it would if I had just focused on it
Yeah.
and by itself. But I had a good time with the social energy of like solving puzzles with chat involved and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Now, how far back will you go with the retro gaming?
well, I have a Commodore 64.
I
I have not
love. Yeah.
I have not plugged it into my PC yet.
One of us.
Because there's
One of
a lot
us.
of there's a lot of tech involved in plugging Commodore 64 in.
Yeah.
Previously I have streamed from my PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
and my Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Which I do have the SNES Classic, which is what I normally use for the speedrunning games, just because the capture is more crisp than doing it off the old hardware.
Right.
But I was just talking the other day. I was watching Maid Mint, who is my Kamiyoshi, love her to death. And she was doing like PlayStation demo discs from the PlayStation 2.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I've got some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But my PlayStation capture setup isn't really great. Like I did Xenogears one time for one of my subathons, just a couple hours of Xenogears.
Right.
And I feel like it just captures really blurry, just because of the tech pipeline I'm using.
Right.
So I'm looking for ways to like improve my PlayStation 2 capture so that I can do more PS2 games on the stream. And I think that's kind of like where I'm at with what I'm doing with retro right now.
Yeah. Well, if you can get the Commodore going, and
It would be really fun to get the Commodore going. It's definitely on my list of things to get fixed and working. Well, the computer itself works. I have a CRT. It all works perfectly.
Oh.
It's just how do I get it plugged into the computer?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a weird pipeline daisy chain of cables.
Yeah, and you have to slow down your computer so much, and for some of these things, it's odd. You have to partition
For like DOSBox and stuff, yeah, you have to slow down your computer. For the Commodore, I would be running off the original hardware, so it's just a matter of getting the image capture.
Wow, it won't go super fast, will it? And where you can't see what's going on.
I don't think so, because it'll be running off the original. Like the old hardware still works.
Oh wow!
So it would be the same speed as it would have been in the 80s.
I would be lying if I didn't say if I said I didn't miss my old Commodore 64.
Yeah, my dad saved it for me. He's figured maybe one day you're gonna want to use this again, and I packed it up and took it with me. Now I have a pretty big home. And I have a room that's reserved for like eventually setting up a gaming room / arcade, but right now it's just kind of just all the stuff is in there kind of haphazardly. So
yeah,
my retro game collection is huge. I'd say the console I have the most stuff for is Xbox 360 probably.
Oh man, so you're gonna have to get another house to add that one to it too.
It all fits in the gaming room, but the gaming room is like not actively being used, and it's also kind of leaking out into the hallway a little bit. But there's a lot.
Yeah.
I sometimes I hook that stuff up to the PC and stream from it, but not often. Usually I'm streaming from either the PC or the PlayStation 5.
Yeah. Well,
or the Switch.
Well, back then you had the games like that. You could actually, first of all, the programming was really easy on those. To me, anyway.
Yeah.
I
have a big stack of magazines. And the way you get it, and the way you get the game is you type out the game first. I mean, that's why I'm a coder today, because I was doing all that stuff when I was younger.
I made a game back then, and we're talking 1984 probably, in dot matrix printing.
Nice.
It was when you printed it out, it was about an inch thick. It was a professional
stacks of paper.
Oh yeah, it was a professional wrestling game that was all text, and it was
cool.
There were so many loops, and I think I used every possible variable that you could use on the Commodore, which was a lot.
So you wrote like an interactive fiction.
Oh, basically, yeah. Except I
love interactive fiction, and I was kind of Inform 7 is one of the cool things you can do Twine.
Yep.
So I've played around with a lot of those different systems for IF, and I've wanted to stream that kind of game, like a text adventure, but I just don't know how well that would stream, right?
Yeah. It would be tough sometimes because in those old text adventures you can get lost pretty quick, there's one thing that always hooks the game up for some reason. But this was actually a game where you just typed in the names of the wrestlers, and it would have its own match.
Oh, that's cool.
And and Commodore 64s, when you did random numbers, it was
Hmm.
technically random numbers.
Well, that's how any computer works.
Yeah, but there was definitely a pattern to the random numbers. So you would kind of get the same finishes every.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
but that also had a timing mechanism in. I put the timing mechanism in, where you actually had a match time that made sense. It was
Oh,
it was as
cool.
detailed as a 18-year-old boy could get at that time with a
That's
Commodore
awesome.
64. And again, I was using so much data lines and
Basic.
yeah,
You
and
get basic and like the go-to and
oh,
everything.
go to if this
That's so
then
fun.
that then random
Yeah.
number this and come up with formulas for random numbers and it was a labor of love. And
That's the best stuff though.
yeah, and I if I had it, I'd send it to you just so you could see it. Um,
Oh yeah.
but
Send it
it's
on a 5-inch floppy disk.
oh yes, that's something that kids these days don't know anything about 5-inch floppy disk.
I got a whole box of them.
Oh 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 my gosh, just don't let any of them go bad.
I have no idea, honestly. That's one of the things I haven't pulled through in a long time. I've got both the 5-inch and the three and a half
Oh
inch floppies
yeah,
laying around. I don't know. I don't know if I have a reader for the 3-inch ones, but I do have the Commodore for the 5-inch, and it's got the disk drive. So,
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I used to play the old D&D games for the Commodore.
oh, cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, the gold box games. I had all of them, and
I still have the boxes. I still have the boxes for like Neverwinter and
yeah,
like Neverwinter 2, like for PC.
yeah. There was
Not Commodore, but for PC.
there was one. It was like five sigils or something. It was, and I played that so much, and you could reuse the characters, so they were maximum
Oh,
everything.
oh,
Um,
that's cool.
but I would play them so much that my disk drive would overheat,
Oh
and
my gosh.
you'd get like a monster on the screen that was like half bugbear, half thief. It's like okay, time to turn the game off for a while.
Probably the first RPG that I got super into was Dragon Warrior
Mm,
on the NES.
yeah,
And they just re-released Dragon Warrior 3, and I'm eager to like jump back into that, like the remastered, because that's such a big part of like how I got into RPGs.
cool. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to get some of the remasters of some of these, but you're going to find, I mean, you've already got stuff from
Uh-huh.
the Commodore that's not going to be replaced. Um,
Yeah, I don't even know what all's on those discs, so it would be just a fun like let's go through. I mean, I did a stream. It was before my rebrand, I think, but where I just went through all my PlayStation memory cards,
mhm.
like what's on all these memory cards on my PlayStation,
Yeah. Well, you got to
because I
watch.
still have them.
You got to watch out for some of those if you get them randomly. I might want to preview
Uh,
them a little bit.
oh well, I mean, I played Leisure Suit Larry. You know.
Yeah, yeah, but I can unfortunately say there's probably more than that out there if you look hard enough. Stuff stored on these things, but the if I'll have to when you get that hooked up, I'm gonna definitely be there watching.
It it's on my list of things to figure out how to do.
Yeah, we
Like I said, I'm trying to figure out how to get better PlayStation capture, and we'll kind of go from there. But
well
the
you
SNES Classic's a real boon for if you're a retro streamer because it has that HDMI out. So if you
oh
want to
yeah
play any of those games,
yeah
and I think people have modded other games into that thing, but I just use the vanilla unit.
yeah. So what are the big things coming up for you besides trying to hook up the Commodore and getting that?
Um, I am opening a small merch store on Black Friday. Hopefully, get all my stuff done. Just some simple stuff, t-shirts, stickers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, cool.
Um, I'm working on probably doing another music stream at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I have a goal on my Twitch channel right now, just to get 1,500 followers. It's not a lot.
Yep.
But if I do, I'm gonna do a gaming roulette stream where
Ah,
people can make me change games.
okay.
I own so many video games that that I have a game request on there, like if it's like, hey, if there's a game you want me to play, like play it. But I think I'm gonna make it to like, hey, you want me to switch games? Like right now, I'll switch to something else. I'll switch to something random, and we'll see how it goes. Um, And I'm also going to be doing a charity stream over Christmas. So for Gamers Outreach, that's going to be on
Cool.
the 21st of December.
Oh, good for
I don't
you.
know what I'll be streaming from that, but it's going to be in a combination of Christmas music and like whatever interests me on that particular day. I have to plan my schedule out.
You have so many options.
Yeah, I do play piano. I haven't streamed piano since last year,
Oh my gosh.
so I'm gonna be doing that at some point again on the stream. But yeah, I do have a lot of options. I gotta finish Dawn Trail. I'm working through that hopefully this weekend. Final Fantasy 14, so that I can raid because I haven't unlocked any of the raids yet. And my
Oh,
friends are like, "When are you gonna raid with us?" It's
oh
like,
my
well, I'm slow.
God.
I'm trying to save the plot stuff for what I'm streaming, and I'm not streaming every single day.
Oh. So what you got here, folks, is with Countess Lita and myself, is that you've got somebody who's extremely talented in the Countess, and someone who balances it out to zero on the other side.
Talent is nurtured. Yeah, I was a professor for years before I went back into industry like I am now,
Mhm.
and I just believe you can teach yourself. You can learn and you can be taught anything. So don't ever sell yourself short. You know, if you want to learn something, learn it. It doesn't even matter how old you are.
Yeah.
Me, I'm ancient. I'm 424 years old and I'm still learning new things. I learned how to make a VTuber and VTube and how to set up a Twitch stream, and
And
anybody can learn to do that stuff. You
and
just gotta The internet is great.
and
Find
and
everything.
and to hear you talk about it, it's obvious how much you're enjoying it.
Oh, I do. I do. It's really become a really fun thing for me to express myself. You know, I switched to VTubing partially because I felt like it was easier to just go live with the avatar.
Hmm.
And also because I think it enables me to do like more crazy stuff that
Mm.
I wouldn't do if I had a camera on my face, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does have having it's called plausible deniability.
I ate soap, okay?
No, it was my
That was
avatar. It was my avatar.
Yeah, but my avatar did it, so
Yes,
it's not.
that's
Yeah,
right.
no, it just lets me push the button and go live and have a good time, like no matter what I'm feeling. Like if I'm feeling like unwell or something,
Hmm.
I usually get picked up. I'm a very extroverted person, which you might not hear very often because I think a lot of people online they're like, "Well, I'm an introvert." I
Yeah.
am not. Um, I love to be on stage. I love to be in front of people. I love to be loud and talk forever, and it just gives me more opportunities to hang out with people.
Well, I'm glad you chose to hang out with me for a while,
Well,
and
I'm glad you chose to chat with me. This has been really fun.
and got to come back, please.
Okay, well,
And
it's wonderful. You have a great community out here as well, and it's just cool to hang with you. So, thank you so much for having me on.
yep, we'll get you back. If you got any of your big events coming, especially for your charity stuff, too, coming up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
let me know so
This
we can do some updates on that for everybody.
December 21st is going to be the charity stream. So, yeah, I got plenty of time to prepare and figure out what I'm going to be doing that day. But that's going to be the day. It's going to be an all day charity stream. So, and that is benefiting Gamers Outreach.
Yeah, well,
They
absolutely
they do
wonderful,
periodic. Yeah.
wonderful
So,
charity, wonderful charity, and
yeah, yeah, good stuff.
I thank you for that, for
Yeah.
doing that. Folks,
Oh, you're welcome.
you
Thank
got to
you.
check out what the Countess has going on. We'll have the links in the description again for this video on the interview channel. And again, an absolute pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure to meet you too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.